Sorry,
All right.
okay.
You ready?
Google Voice. Yes, sorry, my Google Voice was going off. I'm like, how do I stop that?
All right, welcome everyone. This is Chris with the Chefs Without Restaurants podcast. Today we have Christina Xenos. She is a Los Angeles-based personal chef and owner of Sweet Greek Personal Chef Services. She's also a recipe developer, does cooking classes, and is the co-author of OPA, the Healthy Greek Cookbook. She was also recently on an episode of A New Leaf on NBC and the cooking channel's Food Fact or Fiction. Hey, Christina, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on here. So I want to just kind of jump right into it. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, personally, professionally, how you got into cooking and how you started your business?
Amazing. I'm a personal chef. I'm based in Los Angeles. This is my second career. I was a journalist before this. I worked for Wear magazine for 11 years, and I started their digital publishing program in Southern California. So I started their website, and then I covered the LA market for them. And when I was doing that, a lot of it was food, restaurant, and chef related. And I always had a love for cooking. I think anyone who grows up in a Greek family has that in them. And it really made me want to circle back and go to culinary school. So while I was working at the magazine, I went to culinary school. So I did 20 weeks of pro cooking and 20 weeks of pro baking at the New School of Cooking in Los Angeles. And I already knew how to cook, but it gave me the confidence to cook at a professional level. So that's kind of how it started. And then I've always been really entrepreneurial, and I learned about personal chefing, and it seemed like the right way to go to be in food at this juncture. And I love cooking for people, but I really love the recipe side as well. And I love developing and modifying recipes, making them healthy, always making them very tasty for the people who read my recipes and for my clients.
So you never really wanted to get into working as a line cook in a restaurant, it sounds like.
My first job ever, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. And my family, we lived down the street from NCR Country Club. And we all know NCR, they make National Cash Register. They make a lot of the cash registers you still, that you see in grocery stores everywhere. They had a country club. And when I was 15, I worked banquets, and I worked in the kitchen as an expediter. And that was in the 90s, and I was really young. And it was just, it was a fun environment. But, when I was in my late 30s, it was maybe an environment I wasn't excited to go back to. And I'm, really laid back, and I like to be the one in charge. So it just made more sense to start running my own business.
So what is your
But I do.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I do love restaurants, and it would have been a fun path to be on had I started in my 20s as a line cook. But at this point in my life, I just didn't really want to go back to that.
Yeah, and a lot of people start younger, and then by the time they hit their 30s and getting into their 40s, have decided the lifestyle is not something that's really conducive to having a family or just physical,
Right.
mental health, all those kind of things, which is why, I have so many members of my Chefs Without Restaurants community, because they just, for whatever reason, don't want to work in restaurants.
Yeah, I have mad respect for anyone who does. I was at a point in my life where I like the personal aspect of personal shopping is really what drew me to it. So I work really, just very, very closely with my clients. I tailor everything that I make to their dietary preferences, to, what they, their taste preferences. And it's, I cooked for a client yesterday, and I sat down with them for a half an hour, and we talked about the food I was making, the recipes that they, wanted in the future. And it's nice to just be able to have the opportunity to work one-on-one with people and, make them really happy. So I love doing that.
So what does your client base look like? Are they people on a recurring schedule where you're cooking for them every week or a couple days a week, or just kind of like independent catering events, or a mix of both?
I prefer, I do both. And so, but what I really love to do, I have a slate of regular clients. Usually I work with them about once a week. I do have a couple people who are they're single and they don't require as much. So normally will go into my clients' homes and cook anywhere from 3 and 5 entrees at one time. And then they hire me because either they don't have time to cook, they don't want to cook, or they have, they have allergies, they have extremely restrictive diets. I have a client right now who he's gluten-free, he has a nut allergy, a soy allergy, and he can't have dairy or eggs. So that is, if I were a person that wasn't so into cooking, that would just be paralyzing for me to try to cook for myself or even try to eat out with the cross-contamination and issues and not knowing exactly what's in food. So that's where he calls me, and then I obsess about his menus. And it's such an interesting troubleshooting opportunity for me to make things taste good for him and allowing him to eat and enjoy food without, being petrified that he's going to have an allergic reaction. So yeah, I mean, anywhere from families to individuals, and things like that. So I really, a lot of people want to lose weight. My other favorite client is I do a lot of work for women who have just had babies, so postpartum services, and I love those clients because I can, be in there with them. And for one of my clients, I was there the day they brought their baby home from the hospital. And these women, they need to eat, and they need to eat well, and they need a lot of calories. So as opposed to my clients who don't want to eat any carbs at all, I get to make pasta dishes and lasagnas and, all kinds of really, really fun stuff for them. So that's so fun.
I mean, obviously you specialize in Greek cuisine, but I'm sure you do a lot of non-Greek food with your customers. But
Yes.
what are some of your favorite dishes for people? Or, I mean, are there special dishes that your customers really love that play to the Greek cooking?
Absolutely. I make a lot of pastizo and moussaka for people. So pastizo is, it's most similar to a lasagna. So it's pasta with bechamel and a meat sauce. So the pasta is on the bottom, the meat sauce is in the middle, the bechamel is on the top. And it's different from lasagna because when Greek people make meat sauces, we use a lot of warming spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. So my clients really like that. Moussaka is very similar to pastizo, but it's made with eggplant, sometimes eggplant and zucchini or eggplant and tomato, meat sauce, and then the bechamel on top as well. And then I think my signature dish would be my spanakopita, and that's a spinach pie, spinach and feta, scallions and herbs, and in between layers of phyllo dough. And so whenever I make that, people are very happy. I had a Greek client last year, and I was making spanakopita for her every week. So that's
that sounds so delicious. We had a Greek restaurant in town and they just closed down a couple months
oh
ago, and I'm
no.
so sad there's no place around here really to get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw your episode of A New Leaf and you were teaching them how to
Yeah.
make that, and it looked
Sean
so
and Peter.
delicious.
It was
Yeah.
so great. It was so fun to have them over, and we just had a blast in the kitchen. And it's, they had, made it, but everyone's recipe is a little different. So I love kind of showing people my perspective. And my spanakopita is actually my Aunt Margie's spanakopita is my favorite.
And that seems
Mine
like
is,
something that's kind of daunting, I guess, if you've never made it. I think there's always a fear of cooking another cuisine that you're not used to, that you don't
yes.
grow up. Like when I think about making that, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I even want to go down that route.
Yeah, I think especially with the phyllo dough, a lot of people aren't used to handling it. So once I think you have the confidence with that, and when I teach spanakopita classes in person and online, and once I just give people the confidence that phyllo is actually really forgiving, and even if you get a bad batch that might be dry and falling apart, you can still work with it. And I show them some tricks to working with it. And I think, then they feel more confident to branch out and make their own spanakopita or any other pies that require phyllo. So, and then if they really, really hate it, I tell them they can make it with puff pastry. It's a little different, but there's a way to do it.
So do you do a lot of cooking classes? And who are they for? Are they for like existing clients that they want to have a
hmm
party, or do you host them in some kitchen somewhere in town?
Yeah, so I do well, before COVID, I was doing I was, going into people's homes and teaching them. A lot of times, people they want to familiarize, they've either never cooked, or this is, they're in a new kitchen. Or I had a woman who came from Armenia who just wasn't used to, kitchens in the US or, grocery shopping. So, we did all the grocery shopping together. Then we went back to her kitchen, and I just familiarized her with her pots and pans and her stove, and we made Greek and Armenian cuisine have a lot of overlap, so she was able to pick recipes, and we would make 3 different recipes every time I went in there, and that was really fun. So I do a lot of one-on-one work, a little less so now with COVID, but so I kind of pivoted and switched to online so people can hire me for a private session, and we can do about 2 or 3 dishes depending on the recipe and how much time they have. I also do once or twice a month I'll post a cooking class, and we'll do one recipe. So last week we did it's called kolokito keftedes in Greek, but it's a zucchini patty. So we did a class on Zoom for that, and it's just kind of we made some tzatziki to go with it too, but they're really kind of quick and easy recipes. The classes are about an hour and a half long, so we can do both. And then before COVID, I also had some classes through a website called Eat With, which is really wonderful. It's all over the world, and it's hosts in their specific city hosting dining experiences and cooking classes. So I had people, I would list my experience online, and people would buy tickets, and then they come to my house and we would do the cooking class there. And that's how I do my pop-up dinners as well. So there's that. And then we have a cooking school in LA that I've taught Greek cooking classes to as well. So it's a variety of things. And I love connecting with people and showing them how to make the recipes, and it's a blast.
And you have a large blog component to your website with lots of recipes. So it sounds like you're someone who really loves teaching people how to cook. How important was that when you were setting up your website, that you would have a place to share recipes? Is that something you always wanted to do and be a part of your business?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I called my business Sweet Greek Personal Chef Services is because I first had the aspiration to have the blog before I even started my cooking business. And that was just the domain I had, and it seemed, like a good nexus for everything. So I had the blog even before the cooking business, and then I just, kind of rearranged things. But not everyone has the luxury to hire a personal chef, and I only can have so many clients at once. It's really important to me that people have the confidence to cook and can feed themselves and their families in a sustainable way, in a way that's, healthy for them. I think, just seeing, the range of health problems we're having right now in the US and all over the world, people eating highly processed foods. I would, just because they don't think they have time to have something fresh. So they, put in a frozen pizza, and, there's always a time and a place for frozen pizza, but you can't, I would prefer them, not to have to do that every day. And knowing that if you have a few simple ingredients, you can come home and within a half hour, you can have food on the table for your family. People just need a roadmap and confidence to get there. And I try to show them that, something that looks beautiful doesn't have to be complicated. So that's why it's the cooking videos and the website are really important for me to teach people that they can do it, and they can do it, pretty easily.
Yeah, we're making pizza at home tomorrow, and I think that's one of those things that scares people. And pizza dough is literally just flour and water. It might have a
It's not
pinch of
hard.
salt. Sometimes people put olive oil, and then my sauce is just San Marzano tomatoes, hand crushed with a little olive
Yep.
oil, and then cheese. And it's really
Right.
easy. And I think,
It's so
if
easy.
I'm a big fan of like pan pizza. So just take up
Mm-hmm.
a quarter pan and put a little oil,
Yeah.
and you can do that. And I think people teaching them how to do that. So I've done a lot of tutorials on doing pizza during
Oh, I love
quarantine now, because
that.
I wanted people to figure out how to be able to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
my own personal chef business, Perfect Little Bites, was similar to yours in that it was a blog before it was the business. And in some circles, people still call me a blogger, which I don't always love that term because I'm a chef. I've been cooking since I
Right.
was 16, but they knew me from the blog. And I have chef friends
Exactly.
who will say, "Oh, this is Chris from the blog Perfect Little Bites." I'm like, "And the business Perfect Little
And
Bites."
yeah,
Like I
like
actually
I'm a chef.
I make my money from cooking for people.
Right.
So how did your business change during COVID? Like, did you have to change best practices or how you're interacting with your customers and going into the houses and stuff? I mean, we're all dealing with that, so I assume you have a little of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all been, I mean, I look at this year as just a constant evolution. And I learned early on that you can't plan for everything, I guess. So I was actually in Sicily from January until March. And I was doing I was doing Cook the Farm at the Anna Tascalanza Cooking School because I wanted to study food systems in the Mediterranean, and it's a fantastic program. And we studied everything from wheat cultivation to wine production, vine pruning, everything. And then just can't say enough about it. It was just an amazing experience. But once, the coronavirus started taking hold in Italy, we had to pivot really fast, and we weren't quite able to finish our 8 weeks there. So then I had to come back to the US, but I couldn't come back to LA because we had a tenant in our house here. So my husband was in New York with his family, so I had to go to New York. Then I just slowly, kind of saw everything dissipate with the lockdown orders in LA. I knew I couldn't, be here to cook for my clients. And frankly, my clients, didn't want me, they were on, really hardcore lockdown. They weren't leaving. They were getting everything delivered, and I wasn't able to operate my business. And slowly, as things have started to loosen, I've been able to get back with pretty strict protocols, just everything from, wearing a mask the whole time, which is extremely difficult when you're cooking and trying to smell and, taste things, and then just extreme sanitation and, scrubbing everything down to, just not wearing, I have a pair of shoes that I wear just in my client's house. I wash them after every time I cook, and, just, extreme sanitation, being really careful at grocery stores. I only go to grocery stores that have really strict protocols in place with how many people they let in at a time. And, they have, just like Trader Joe's in LA, we, they have arrows on the ground that you follow to maintain social distancing and things like that. But it makes me feel a lot safer, especially when I'm out, 3 or 4 times a week at a grocery store, which, most people are not. So yeah, I've pivoted in that way. And, I'm happy that I'm back cooking in people's homes. And then I'm, instead of hosting cooking classes on site, I've been pivoting over to Zoom, and that's been, really fun. And it's not the same, but it's still great because now I can connect with people all over the world. So I had a cooking class last Saturday. I had people from, the East Coast, New York and Philly, and then I had someone from London. So it's been great. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, it's weird. What you give up in person, you gain with access, right? It's kind of like the
Yeah,
podcast. I don't know that I would ever have had you on this show because who knows how we would
right,
meet up in either LA or out here in Maryland. And now it's like, oh,
right.
well, I love the sound of the show in person and the feel is great, but I'm also getting to interview these people from all over the world now
Oliver.
that I never would have had a chance. So you figure out how to
It's
adapt,
cool.
right?
Yeah, I think it's all about adaptability, and it's all about, if something doesn't go the way that you had planned, to just be okay with it and, figure out a new way. And, when I left Sicily, I had 5 plane tickets because I just didn't know what flight was going to take off. And it's just, knowing that we've never had anything like coronavirus in our lifetime before. So it's, just knowing that your decision might not be the right one, but it's okay. And just figuring out, your own way, and just feeling okay about it. Cause, it's hard to, when you don't have all the information or you don't have the experience to base a decision on, just, finding a way to do it, and being okay if it wasn't the right one.
That's for sure. Being flexible, right? Flexibility
Yeah.
is the big word right now.
Flexibility and adaptability. That's all that you have right now.
And some would argue, I mean, we should have probably been thinking about this a little more. I mean, I think some businesses were really well prepared for this. I mean,
Hmm.
as prepared as you can be, but some businesses
Right.
are always evolving and always thinking of the next thing. And then a lot of businesses don't, and they just kind of got caught in this oops scenario where now they're backpedaling, trying to play catch up.
Yeah, I think so. I feel my friends, a lot of my friends who are into like catering large events, they switched over to takeout and some, farm box stuff, where people could pick up groceries and stuff. And it's not the same, but they were able to pivot. But yeah, I mean, certain industries got hit. The event industry just got decimated, and restaurants. I mean, my friends who have restaurants here in LA are, just really stressed out right now because yesterday we had to close them down again. And yeah, it's a really strange time. I hope it ends soon.
Me too. So I know you have the one cookbook. Do you have plans for another cookbook to come out?
Yeah, so my friend Emily and I came up. Emily was in Greece a couple years ago and was there for the saffron harvest. So in northern Greece, near Thessaloniki. There's a group of villages in the Kozani area where they harvest a lot of saffron, and she has these beautiful pictures. So the beginning, or actually late last year, I came up with about, I think, 10 recipes, and we shot them, and we're working on a saffron cookbooklet, like a small cookbook that should come out in the next couple months. And then I put together just a list of I think it's going to be 12 or 15 favorite summer recipes. Since not many of us will be able to travel to Greece this summer, I wanted to bring Greece to you, and that will be available really soon as a free download on my website. So if you go to my website, you can just type your name into like the email box, and then I can email you when that's ready to be downloaded. So it's just just everything basic, from a village salad to, I do these, it's called imam bialdi. It's a stuffed eggplant with tomatoes and feta cheese. So the quintessential recipes that you would be eating at a seaside taverna, and that we're all missing right now. And then like lobster pasta, which is my favorite thing to eat in Greece during the summer. So I'll have all that ready soon for people to download and create Greece at home in their own kitchens.
Wow, that's exciting. I look forward to
Yeah.
that. And the idea
Yeah.
that you're doing it for free, just again, because you love sharing recipes with
Yeah.
people. And, I think that's great, giving them a little something right now when there's so little out
Yeah.
there for people.
Well, we're all cooking whether we want to or not, more than ever before. So it's my mom is going crazy. She's like, I am so sick of cooking and finding new ideas. So it's just, I like to point her to new ideas, and just give people, new ideas so they can get out of the same stuff over and over again. Because I think it's just exhausting when you're cooking 3 meals a day and you're trying to find, new ideas. And it's my passion, and I'm fine with it, but I know that's not what everyone wants to be doing all the time.
Yeah, I
So,
have twins at home who are almost 8. My
oh
in-laws
my
also
gosh.
live with us, so there's 6 in the house. And today at lunch, we made 4 separate lunches. Like, I used to never have to do any of that. My wife went to work and my kids went to school. And now today, like after we deal with breakfast, then it's lunch. And it's like, I had tacos for lunch, and then my son had a bowl of soup, and my wife made a quesadilla, and my daughter had like an egg and cheese bagel. It's like, this is
Hmm.
so much work just doing lunch for 4 people. And now I've got to turn around and do dinner for 6 people again tonight. When am I going to get anything done?
I mean, I can totally sympathize with you. When I was with my husband's family in New York, there were 8 of us. There were his parents, his sister, her husband, and their 2 kids who are in high school, and myself and my husband. And, Angelo, her husband, and I, we split cooking dinner every day. But then, yeah, lunch came around, and I mean, people, it was just, I would just sit in the kitchen, because that's where I would set up with my computer, and just like watch the wave of people, just come in. And thank goodness they have 2 dishwashers, because we were constantly running dishes and loading and emptying the dishwasher, and just constantly cooking and cleaning up. And it's just crazy.
But I have enjoyed
It's fun.
cooking more at home. It's given me a chance to
Yeah,
do some fun cooking with the family, teaching my kids to cook a little bit, definitely
that's
some
great.
R&D stuff, again, keeping the blog
Hmm.
component going. I was kind of running dry for a while because work had been really good. So not really having the time to try new
Right.
dishes, type them out, photograph them, all that
Sure.
stuff. So I've been able to do a little bit of that, which is nice. I mean, it would also be nice to be getting paid more.
Yeah, it's just, now we know, like, and then the work will eventually come back, and it's, at least that was what I was telling myself in the spring. I'm like, I know it's going to come back, so this is the time I'm going to come up with new recipes, like get everything else down and on the blog, and kind of just organize everything, and get it ready to go. And it was fun to have that time. I was doing like 2 cooking videos a week. It was really great. And I rarely have that time. I also was, baking sourdough bread, which everyone was doing, but I'd never had that time before. So that was, that's been really great. And
And then you wonder why you never did that. I mean, I started baking bread 2 to 3 times a week, and it really isn't that hard. It's mostly the resting time.
no,
You just throw a bunch of stuff in
yeah,
the KitchenAid, mix it up, and let it sit out. And you're like,
yeah,
why am I spending $7 for an artisan loaf of bread at Trader Joe's when I could really just
right.
make a really solid loaf of bread at home?
I love it. It's been really fun to experiment with different flours. And I got the starter from my husband's friend over in New York, and I was able to fly it back to Los Angeles. It kind of blew up in my suitcase, but It's still alive, and it's been great. And I, for certain clients, I'll drop a loaf off for them every week, and it's just, yeah, I love it. And you said you were doing pizza recipes. I was experimenting with the sourdough focaccia recipe, which, is just so good. And yeah, I don't know why it's taken me this long. I mean, we did it a bit in cooking school, and then I just got busy and forgot about it. And then we were baking so much bread in Sicily that I knew when I came back that I would be doing it. And it just so happened that now I have, time to do it. So
I didn't get into the sourdough because that seems like another big thing, right? But I did
Mhm.
really get my focaccia recipe down, and I
Nice.
did the most popular one was the everything bagel focaccia, and I was making it and giving it to the neighbors. I just have some of that Trader Joe's like everything but the bagel
Yes.
spice, and then
That is such a great
and,
idea.
and then I love putting fennel seed in it and a little extra of the onion, the dried onion, to
Oh,
really make it pop.
yeah.
And I did a couple batches with beer in them and using like I scaled everything out, and it's like 1 12-ounce bottle of beer, and then you have to add maybe a cup of water to it. So making this beer focaccia base, and then on top just a lot of
Yum.
olive oil and the everything spice on there, because people weren't going out to get bagels, and you could make this nice big loaf, makes a quarter sheet pan of it. So that's up on my website, and I was sharing the
I will
recipe
check
with
that out.
everyone.
I'm
Yeah,
totally
if you
gonna check
can't
that
find that,
out.
I'll point you in the right direction. I also did one with kimchi, which was interesting. You drain kimchi
Yum.
and put the
Mhm.
juice into the dough, so it kind of gets a little
Oh,
funky while it's fermenting,
nice.
and then pack it in on the top, and then
Oh, I like
throw,
that idea a
throw it in the oven.
lot. I love
Yeah, so I think I had 3 focaccia recipes that I put like 3 days in a row on my website,
I love
and then it just kind of
it's so
petered off, and
good.
now we're like, I don't know. But I'm doing
It's
pizza again in a couple days because I really want to get my pizza dough recipe down.
nice. Yeah, I love it. We don't have a lot of space, and we're in the middle of Hollywood, so there's a problem with like open fires, but I'm really trying to get my husband to build me a pizza oven outside. We haven't quite found the right space for it, but we had one at the school and my friends have one, and I just am dying for some really good like hot wood oven pizza, and even, a wood oven to do chicken and things like that. But
Yeah,
one day,
one day I'd love one of those. I don't have one either.
one
Uh,
day.
so how did you end up on both an NBC TV show and the cooking channel? I mean, I'm sure people kind
Yeah,
of want to know what's the secret sauce to getting on
I
a
know, right?
major
I think
TV program.
it's being in LA. No, it's partly being in LA, and they film a lot of that here. For the cooking channel, I had hosted a pop-up dinner through Eat With, and the showrunner and the director came to my pop-up. They wanted, to do a Greek dinner, and they and their friends came, and it went over really well. And then they were doing a show about I think it was last season, and the theme of the show was all about Chicago. And saganaki is a dish all over Greece, but it was first flambéed in Chicago, so it's not a Greek thing. The Greeks never really did that, but there was a guy in Chicago who wanted to add a little extra pizzazz, so he, brought out the cheese and set it on fire. And so I was the Greek expert on that segment for the Food Fact for Fiction, which was super fun to film. And then for A New Leaf, the producer, John and Peter, were both of Greek descent. So A New Leaf, sorry, it was on NBC. It was the kind of the more you know. So it's educational programming on Saturday mornings. And this was in partnership with Ancestry. So the whole theme of A New Leaf is people discovering their ancestry, and they create a show around that. And so John and Peter, both had Greek heritage that they discovered through Ancestry. And then they had recently gotten married, so they wanted an activity to do right before their marriage party. So they came over and we all made spanakopita, and then they served spanakopita at their marriage party, which was really fun. So yeah, the producer, I think, just found my website and contacted me, and I had a video village in my living room a couple of weeks later. So it was really fun, a great experience. I love doing television, and it's been great to be able to champion Greek cuisine in that way.
And I think another good reason to have a blog component of your website, I mean, it's obviously good for
Mm-hmm.
SEO and finding,
Yes.
people finding you on the internet when they Google Greek cuisine or Greek chef or something like that. It seems like you have a large fan base. You have like
Mm-hmm.
23,000 followers on Instagram or something like that. How did that
Yeah,
happen? And when did you start your Instagram, and how did it grow?
I started it in 2012, so it's been around for a while, and I was posting so much food content when I worked at the magazine, and I think just being in the early days of it and being interactive with everyone. And then even so, when I pivoted mostly to doing recipes and food and finding my niche in Greek food, that has really helped grow my following as well. So I think it was easier when you started out because people wanted to follow more people. Now it's gaining followers is hard, but it's really important to me just to connect with the ones that I have, and doing that in an authentic way, and posting good content for them and inspiring them, and just being there. I love doing Instagram stories because I don't know, I like to over curate things. That's just me. So like if I don't have the right photo, I won't post that, but I'll do stories all day long. So yesterday I was in my client's home, and I roasted a chicken for her. I fried chicken for her, and it's just fun to like put those little bits up on stories. And I just love connecting with people there. And I've met so many people around. I've met you, and I met just so many fun people around the world, from like Morocco and Egypt and Australia. And it's so fun to connect with people, and Instagram being that vehicle it's amazing.
Has anyone ever come up to you like on the street or something, having recognized you from the internet? Because I don't even have that many followers, and that's happened to me. I actually was in a cocktail bar in New York City, in Manhattan, and I took a picture of a drink and posted on my Instagram, and dude was in the bar. And I guess scrolling through Instagram, which is kind of weird. I mean,
He's
you're in a bar in Manhattan. And he totally came over because he already followed me like for years on Instagram, and I didn't know him. He's another chef. And we were both in town for a chef conference, but I thought it was so funny / weird, kind of creepy maybe, but that you could post a drink in a bar in the biggest, city in North America, and have a person in 5 minutes come tap you on the shoulder and say, I know you. You just posted a drink on Instagram. It's like, oh, hey, nice to meet you.
That's amazing. I mean, I've had the experience where I like have these Instagram friends, and then I don't even, realize when I meet them in person that they're that person. So it is interesting to meet people in real life. When I was posting stuff for the magazine, I didn't do it while I was at the place. Just, I think, in the age of Foursquare, when people were checking into places, things got a little creepy. So I stopped doing that. I didn't want people to know where I was. But yeah, I think that's amazing. I have just kind of run into people like that. I was at like an oyster festival in Wellfleet, and I ran into an Instagram friend, and it's cool. Like, I mean, just the world is so fun like that.
It's like when you see someone at the grocery store that you kind of recognize, and you don't know if you know them or internet know them. And now we're all wearing the masks. So I go to the grocery store and I'm obscured. I got my glasses and my hat on and this mask, and you just make eye contact with someone. You're like, I kind of feel like I know them from the internet, and I don't know. I just don't want to go over and say hi right now. So I'll just kind of give like a nod.
It's like your brain does something. I had this experience where I was at an engagement party for my husband's friend in Beverly Hills, and I was getting a drink at the bar, and Seth Rogen walked over, and I like, my brain was like, this person, and I was like, oh hey, and then I was like, oh, I don't know you. But my brain knew you, and now I know who you are, and I definitely don't know you, and then I felt really weird. But
yeah, I've also said hey to someone who I thought it was someone I knew. It's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hey, do I know you? I'm like, yeah, Josh, right? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, that's kind of awkward.
Sorry.
So I see that you did a dinner at the James Beard House. Is that right?
I did. How
exciting was that? I mean, as a chef, that seems like something I've always wanted to do. I've never been invited there, and maybe someday. But what was that experience like, and how did you end up doing that?
Yeah, it was epic. It wasn't my dinner, so I'll say that. It wasn't, I was invited to cook there. It was not me who was the main chef. So, but it was still an amazing opportunity. I'm a member of Les Dames d'Escoffier, which is an international women's organization of culinary people. So anywhere from people who write about food to chefs to people who work in food PR. And it's been around for a really long time. And my mother-in-law was also a member in her time in the 70s and 80s. And so they did, I think it was, I don't know exactly who organized it, but it was the Southern Aegean Council, and they hooked up with the James Beard House and Les Dames d'Escoffier, and Argiro Barbarigou, she's basically the godmother of Greek cuisine. She was invited to cook at the James Beard House, and La Dame's put together a team of chefs. So my writing partner, Theo Stefan, and I from the West Coast, 2 chefs from South Florida, and then 2 chefs from New York. We all came together and supported her and her team, and it was incredible. It was a lot of work, but Argio is like the most wonderful person to work with, and it was really cool to be able to cook her recipes. And it was an insane amount of food that we made. And I mean, if you've ever seen that kitchen, it's so small. It's just what people pull off in that kitchen is pretty incredible. And it was March of 2018. There's still some insane storms that were rolling through. So there's like a huge snowstorm when we were there, like the day before. So things got really weird with just logistics and produce being delivered and things like that. But we did a media lunch for, I think, 60 people in the afternoon, and then we did an 80-person dinner in the evening. And it was the most insane and most wonderful day of my life. And I am so thankful to have that experience. And I hope to be there again in some capacity one day, but just wonderful. My mother-in-law was there with my husband, which was really wonderful. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
That sounds amazing. I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine. And cooking with someone like that,
Mm-hmm.
how cool. I would
really,
almost rather go and cook with someone else like that than go and be the one and just kind of be able to be in their presence.
Yeah, I was really happy to not have to handle any logistics. And I was just, I was there offering, I understood the recipes. And actually we made my dish that I handled was the lamb fricassee, which I make all the time. It was fun to see her spin on it. And it was really special to be able to work there in that context though, and work under her and champion these recipes. But yeah, I was really glad I didn't have to coordinate any of that. And then so basically anyone who does the dinners there, they have to do a whole lot of prep beforehand. So the day before we were, prepping everything at this huge catering kitchen in Lower Manhattan. And I've never, done anything of that magnitude before. So it was really interesting to see how that all worked out. But it was like, we were prepping the lamb, and then we were just, finely peeling very tiny potatoes for the soup. And it was all really cool. So I can't wait. I would love to do that again.
Yeah. Let me know, because that's really close to me. I would definitely come up for it. I miss all this stuff that we're not doing right now,
Me too.
not going to places like that. So I always like to do a speed round. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with before we kind of jump into the speed round?
Oh, okay. You can check out my website, mysweetgreek.com, and all my info is there. Links to my Instagram is xtina, XTINA, So I post all my videos on Instagram and my recipes on my website. There's a link to my YouTube channel, which and just connecting with people. So it's great. And if you have a question about a recipe, I will answer you.
We put together really comprehensive show notes, both within the RSS feed there and across social media. So people will definitely be able to find you.
So we just reach out, say hi.
We just like to throw some questions out there to kind of get a feeling for everyone with what they like, don't like, but I always kind of ask similar questions. So do you have a favorite tool in the kitchen that's maybe accessible for everyone? Like if you recommended a piece of gear, what would it be?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I love my microplane, because I try to microplane everything. I hate chopping garlic, but I love just finely grating garlic into everything from a salad dressing to on top of fish. That texture of garlic lets it penetrate even more. And I pretty much zest everything. So if I'm using a lemon in a dish, which I use a lot of lemon, I'm zesting the lemon and using the lemon juice. So I think a microplane is pretty underutilized, but it's something everyone should have and use.
I just noticed yesterday that my blades are getting kind of dull. You know, they get the spots. They're like
Yeah.
6 inches long, but there seems to be like a 3-inch spot kind of in the middle where it's dull. And it's like you have to kind of move to the top or the very bottom. I was
Yes.
doing chocolate, which should shave really easily, but I was shaving dark chocolate on
You're
top of
like,
my tiramisu. And I'm like, why is this blade not
why is
shaving the
this not going?
chocolate? This is not how it should be. Do you have
Yeah.
a favorite dinner food memory? Like, is there a restaurant or at a family member's house? Is there a meal that jumps out at you as being
Oh,
particularly
wow.
special?
I'm gonna say it's my husband and I are hitting our next weekend is our 5th anniversary. So we had a really small wedding here. I didn't want to plan a big wedding, but we also had 3 weddings so we could, see everybody. But for actual wedding, we rented a house in Topanga Canyon, and we had just our immediate family. So there were 11 of us total. And my friend Greg Hazinski, who is the executive chef of Strand House in Manhattan Beach, who had gotten married the weekend before, came up and cooked. We got to work together on the menu, and he created this amazing dinner of everything that I wanted. So it was like caviar, fresh pasta, beef tartare, an incredible cheese spread. I think I can't remember, like ribeye camp and just like ridiculous stuff where I loved my wedding, but I was like, it was all about the food. so so
I'm
that was
totally
really
with you on
special.
that one. We catered our own wedding, which seems kind of insane, but yeah, my
Really?
wife was a chef at the time, and our whole wedding party were chefs. So we just rented a big house on Cape Cod, and for the
Oh,
week, it was just like a whole crew
that's
of
so
chefs. My best
fun.
man was a chef,
Oh my
groomsman. So we just
God.
went and bought all the stuff and catered it ourselves. And I think I would still do that again today. I mean, it seems a little crazy. There's some things I do differently, but being a bit of a control freak and a big fan of food, I don't think
Yeah.
I'd want it any other way.
Yeah, I made my own wedding cake. I made a carrot cake, but the problem was the house. We couldn't get the air conditioner to work really well. And air conditioning in LA, no one thinks you need it, but that day was a little warm and the frosting kept melting off the cake. And I was like trying to do my hair and makeup and then ice the cake. And Greg was just laughing at me. And he's like, I'll help you. And I was like, you can't help me. I'm going to do it.
That's
So
literally the only thing we didn't do. We paid for someone to make the cake. I am not that crazy.
it
Uh,
was fun. I love making cakes. It was fun.
I enjoy them, but they don't look the way my cakes are delicious, I think, if I do say so myself, but the
Mhm.
icing technique needs a lot of work. So that's something that I've continued to
Yeah.
continued to work on myself.
Mhm.
Do you have any favorite culinary resources that aren't yours? I mean, obviously people can go to your website and your book, but do you have favorite other cookbooks,
Mhm.
websites, chefs to follow? Where would you recommend people look?
Yeah, so I'm not really a baker. So I mean, I'm baking a lot of things now, but I wouldn't say that's my specialty. So Sally's Baking Addiction, she has her recipes are phenomenal and they work really well. I know, she must test them meticulously because they work for me always. So I love I love her blog. And then my dear friends in LA, they're called Husbands That Cook. They're really wonderful, and they're all vegetarian, and they have really really fun, modern, delicious recipes. So I love them. And then, I mean, so as a personal chef, I need to sometimes make recipes quickly and without a lot. I mean, I always test everything, but if I need something that I can't take a lot of time to test, I mean, Ina Garten, Barefoot Contessa, I know she meticulously tests her recipes and I trust them implicitly. So everything I've made from her has been pretty spot on, and they're good. They're really. I made her fried chicken yesterday, and I loved it. It was delicious. So those are my 3 right now.
There's
So
so much information out there. It's almost overload. You know,
mhm.
I have a
Yeah, it
tendency
is.
to want to make fried chicken and then I'll go on the internet and
Mhm.
Google it. And it's like, I'm going to go to Serious Eats and see what they're doing. They're like, but then I'm
Yeah,
going to go check out this recipe from some chef on food and wine. And next thing you know, you have like 7 recipes and they all have different
it's
temperatures and different techniques.
exhausting.
And it is, you can definitely overdo it. And everyone's got an opinion. And at some point you just have to go with one
Yeah,
of them.
I do have to say, Serious Eats for really technical stuff. So I've been making a lot of octopus lately and experimenting with that. So I did a pressure cooker octopus, and then I've done sous vide octopus. And both the pressure cooker and the sous vide from Serious Eats, the techniques have worked out really well. sous vide has been by far the best. And yeah, so they said to sous vide the octopus at 175 degrees for 5 hours, and it has turned out like the best octopus I've ever had. So I'm cooking a party for 4th of July, and I have 6 octopus in my fridge right now that I'm gonna sous vide for that party.
That sounds amazing. Do you do anything after you sous vide it? Do you throw it on the grill to
Yeah,
crisp it
you
up?
char it
Yeah.
off on the grill. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, that
it's
sounds
delicious.
amazing. The best one
It's
I
so
ever had
good.
was made in a Rational combi oven. So same kind of idea
Oh
because you
yeah.
can adjust the temperature and humidity, but who has a combi oven? I mean, professional
Right.
kitchens, but like I don't have one at my house.
Right.
Yeah, great tip. So I
Yeah.
also share those with people so that they can find some great culinary resources. Well, thanks so
Yeah,
much for coming
definitely.
on the show. This
Thank you,
was great. I'm
Chris.
so glad you made time for us. And
Thank you.
I
It's
hope
been great
people
to talk to you.
I hope people follow you and find some
Thanks.
inspiration in Greek cooking. I'm a big fan. And like I said,
Thank
now I'm having to
you.
do all my own Greek cooking at home if I want it. So
Well,
I'm
at
gonna
least it's grilling season, so you can just put everything on the grill
we're
and go.
grilling everything right now.
Yeah.
Have no desire to heat up the kitchen in my house.
Oh gosh, no. No, I know. It's so hot. So, have you done pizza on the grill?
Um, Not this summer. So I have in past. I mean, and I went to culinary school at Johnson and Wales, and in
Okay.
Providence, El Forno is like one of the places. I think they literally invented like the grilled pizza. So I was big on
Yeah.
that for a while. I'm really trying to get the technicalities of pizza cooking. Like I have a baking steel, which I love, and it does really great, especially in the house. A couple
Hmm.
times I've put that on the grill, but
Nice.
I'm exploring pan pizza a lot. I have trouble pitching like I make this dough and it's beautiful and I put on the peel and then I go to throw it and it doesn't slide right and it tears and then you have
Oh,
this big mess. But I grew up eating a lot of Greek pizza, which is pan
yeah.
pizza, isn't it? And
Yeah.
so where I grew up in my hometown, there were no Italian pizza places. They were only Greek. And it was always like that
Amazing.
somewhat greasy, crispy pan
I
pizza.
think it came from Detroit. I think it was like the Greeks in Detroit who did that, and then it kind of spread across the U.S. But
So
yeah,
that's what I grew up. I love
I
that. I
love
don't
that.
like that kind of chewy, doughy with the flour residue
No,
pizza.
it's like the crispy crust. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
the
I bought some
best.
really awesome Lloyd's pans, make these amazing, like stick resistant pizza pans in all different shapes and sizes.
Oh.
And they're really awesome, high quality. So this summer I've exclusively been working on those. I was using like quarter sheet pans and half pans, but
Hmm.
they warp under high temperature because they're not
Hmm.
really made to go in a hot oven. That baking still
Right.
gets to like 900 degrees, but
Yeah.
these pans are awesome. So just like a light coat of
Oh,
oil and make your dough, and then you don't have to worry about pitching it or anything, and you just build it in the pan, throw it on the baking steel, and then take it out and put it back in, for like 2 minutes just to crisp up the bottom.
oh, I have to check that out. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
I've got recipes.
Nice.
I can point you in the right direction for
Oh
both
yeah, I will.
pans and pan pizzas. But yeah, so that's what I loved. I grew up with those like Greek pan pizzas. So
So
Detroit
good.
Greek, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, I have a lot of family from Detroit, so I'm always there eating.
Mm. Yeah,
So
I
good.
could eat pizza every day. Actually, the
Yeah.
the co-host of this podcast who started it with me, who's on hiatus because of COVID
Hmm.
and everything, he actually has a pizza business here
Oh
in
my
town.
gosh,
He has a
amazing.
wood-fired pizza truck, and he has a
Oh wow.
trailer, a truck, and then he has like portable ovens that he can take to people's homes. So
That's
I really
great.
got
I
into
love
pizza
that.
with Andrew. Yeah.
Oh, so good. I think that's everyone's favorite quarantine food. I'm gonna say it. Like I think that's what the sourdough and the pizza. I think that's what everyone's doing right now. I
Absolutely. And
love it.
my kids are weird. I love them, but my son likes white pizza, no sauce at all. Right. And
Oh,
my daughter doesn't really like cheese on pizza. She always picks it off. So we always go buy these like $20 pizzas from a pizza shop, get home. My daughter takes the cheese and throws it down, and my son complains that there's nothing for him. So we've just gone to making pizza. A batch of
like
dough
the
makes 4 balls and they
right.
cook so quickly that I would just rather make
They can all
pizza at
have their
home so
own.
they can have their own.
Yeah.
Kids are
I
weird.
love
Kids are weird.
I know I love all the little food nuances, and I like it's when I cook for families who have kids who don't want to eat vegetables, I love just sneaking, zucchini into a meatball or something for them.
I'm
They
doing
won't know it.
cauliflower and beef meatballs tonight. So it's a blend. So you
Yeah.
do like the
Yeah.
cauliflower rice and then fold that in instead of breadcrumbs. It gives them a little more. And then we'll put some really good chopped vegetables in the marinara sauce
Yeah.
to make
Oh,
sure they
that's
get a
great.
little something there. I hate that
Yeah.
idea of like the sneaky chef, but My
It's
wife's a
good. It makes
my
the
wife's a dietitian, and we're
oh,
always trying to
yeah,
eat better. And
yeah. It makes them, yeah. I think it's just it's a good way to give them nutrition and make things. They'll change with time too, and they'll eventually like the vegetables.
we hope so. Last night we did tempeh, like tacos with cabbage and stuff. So it was like mushu tempeh tacos, and it was vegan, and they were delicious.
Yum.
I don't know if you've heard of this woman. She got the Dude diet. Do you know anything about her?
Mm-mm, no.
Basically, like, her husband ate a bunch of garbage, so she wanted to make like those craveable like nachos and pizza and
Oh,
stuff like that, like healthier.
healthy.
So like
Mm-hmm.
finding ways to do, like those meatballs, like make them with turkey and then put cauliflower in, and then once you bake them and simmer them in marinara sauce, like you can't
You don't
really tell.
know.
So this was one of her
Nope.
recipes. So it was like the idea of mushu pork, and it's like you just saute up a
Ooh.
little tempeh in a skillet with some sesame oil, and then just buy, if you want, like the bagged cabbage coleslaw mix that's already shredded, and just dump it in there, and then portobello mushrooms, and then you finish
Yum.
it with a glaze of like hoisin and soy and rice wine vinegar, and then just take like some whole wheat flour tortillas, or you can get the grain free ones, and make these little tacos. And it's a
That sounds
vegan dish, and it's
phenomenal.
got a lot of flavor, and it comes together in like 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I
that
love
that's
that. I'm
the,
gonna have to.
that's my wife and I used to do cooking classes, and we tried to do, like, everyone wants healthy, fast,
Yes.
inexpensive, and delicious, right? Which,
Yep.
you're like, okay, how do we do this? How can you work and get home at 5:30 and put a dinner on the table for a family of 4 that people love, that's healthy?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is the conundrum. But yeah, there's definitely ways to do it, and people can do it. So
Yeah,
and make it taste delicious.
and make it taste delicious.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for coming on the show. This was
Thank you, Chris.
fantastic.
This is so fun. Thank you.
So, to all our listeners, this has been the Chefs Without Restaurants podcast. As always, you can find us at chefswithoutrestaurants.com and .org, and on all social media platforms. Thanks, and have a great week. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm glad we could get together and do this.
Yeah.
And
Thank you so much for asking me to be on the show. This was so fun.